Narrator, calm, dramatic. They called it a flying coffin. The American Navy laughed at it. The British dismissed it. And the Japanese, they barely noticed it. But in 1942, when the skies of the Pacific turned into a furnace of death, this awkward, underpowered machine would become the last hope of men trapped thousands of miles from home. Sound, distant aircraft engines. Fade to the roar of propellers. Narrator, this is the story of the Brewster F2A Buffalo, America's worst fighter, and of the men who flew it when they had no other choice. Sound, hangar ambience, hammers, metal clanging. Mechanic grumbling. Look at this thing, Joe. Heavy as a brick. Slow as a bus. Whoever designed it never fought a war. Lieutenant Joe Hawkins, USMC pilot, Pensacola, 1941. Maybe so, but it's what we've got. And when the Japs come knocking, this brick's gonna have to fly. Narrator, the Brewster Buffalo was America's first monoplane carrier fighter, a symbol of progress. But by the time it entered service, it was already obsolete. It was overweight, underarmed, and had the climb rate of a tired mule. Pilots called it the Flying Cow. Sound, ocean waves, seagulls, carrier deck ambience. Narrator, June 1942. The Pacific, the island of Midway, America's lonely outpost guarding Hawaii. Fighter Squadron 221, VMF 221, had 25 Brewster Buffaloes. Their mission, stop the Imperial Japanese Navy. Major Floyd Parks, briefing the squadron. Men, we've got intelligence the enemy's coming. Big time. You'll be outnumbered maybe 10-1. But remember, it's not the plane, it's the pilot. Pilot Hawkins, under his breath. Hope that's true, sir. Sound. Map rustling. Distant thunder of engines as a carrier approaches. Narrator. At the same moment, hundreds of miles away, the Japanese fleet steamed east, led by Admiral Chichi Nagumo. For carriers, over 200 aircraft, Zero fighters, Val dive bombers, K-torpedo planes, the elite of the Imperial Navy. Sound. Inside Japanese carrier, mechanical clicks, disciplined chatter. Commander Mitsuo Fukuda, in Japanese, subtitled in narration. The Americans are brave, but their machines are toys. We will strike them before they even see us. Narrator. The Japanese Zero was faster, lighter, deadlier, and flown by men who had already spent years over China honing their craft. To the Marines of VMF 221, it was like bringing knives to a gunfight. Sound. Air raid sirens, frantic footsteps, engines roaring to life. Tower operator. Enemy sighted. Bearing 320. Multiple bogies inbound. Narrator. At 6 a.m. on June 4th, 1942, the first wave of Japanese planes descended upon Midway. The Marines scrambled what they had. 25 Brewsters, 7 Wildcats. Radio chatter. Buffalo 1 to base. Climbing to intercept. Copy that. Good luck, boys. Godspeed. Sound. Wind howling. Machine gun fire rattling. Narrator intensely. At 17,000 feet, they saw them. A wall of enemy aircraft glinting in the rising sun. The odds. 50 against 100. Hawkins in headset. All right, boys, let's show 'em what these cows can do. Sound. Engine dive, machine guns. Narrator. The Buffaloes climbed hard, but the Zeros dropped out of clouds like falcons. One by one, the slow American planes were shredded. Sound. Screaming engines, explosions, heavy breathing on radio. Hawkins. I got one. Wait, he's on my tail. Rat-a-tat. Tail's gone, going down. Narrator. The battle lasted just minutes. Of 25 Buffaloes, only 10 returned. Many were riddled with holes. Some were just missing. Ground crewmen whispering. Poor bastards never had chance. Narrator, somber. The Brewster Buffalo had failed. But the pilots, they hadn't. They bought time. Precious minutes that would soon change the course of the war. Narrator. As the last Brewsters fell from the sky, the Pacific burned with smoke and loss. On the decks of the USS Enterprise in Yorktown, American crews prepared their counterstrike. The pilots knew what had happened at Midway's defense. They'd heard the desperate radio calls, the silence that followed, Lieutenant Dick Best, USS Enterprise. All right, boys, those Marines fought with everything they had. Now it's our turn. Sound. Roaring dive bombers, air rushing past canopies. Narrator. The dauntless dive bombers lifted off, slow, steady, and deadly. Their mission: find the Japanese carriers before the next strike hit Midway. Hours passed over a silent sea. The sun climbed higher, blinding the horizon. Then, around 10:20 a.m., the call came. Radio operator. Enemy fleet spotted. Multiple carriers, this is it. Narrator. Rising intensity. They dove through clouds of flak and gunfire. Engines screaming, bomb doors open. Below them, the Kaga, Akagi, and Soryu, three of Japan's proudest carriers, exposed at the worst possible moment. Pilot, shouting over radio. Target in sight. Bombs away. Sound. Piercing whistle, thunderous explosion, chaotic alarms. Narrator. In just 5 minutes, the balance of the Pacific war shattered. Explosions tore through the decks as aircraft fuel ignited, flames engulfing the ships. Japanese crews fought desperately to contain the Inferno, but it was too late. Admiral Nagumo, shouting in Japanese, "Get the planes out. Move them. Move them." Sound panic, sirens shouting and fire roaring. Narrator. 3 carriers were burning, their air wings destroyed before they could even launch. The Imperial Navy, the same force that had once seemed unstoppable, now faced the unthinkable. By afternoon, one last Japanese carrier, the Hiryu, struck back, damaging the Yorktown. But the Americans found her too. By dusk, Hiryu was gone, her deck glowing red against the Black Sea. Sound fades to calm waves, wind. Narrator, somber, reflective. When the smoke cleared, for Japanese carriers lay beneath the Pacific. Over 300 planes lost. And with them, Japan's experienced air crews, men they could never replace. The Marines at Midway had paid dearly. Out of 25 Brewster Buffalo pilots, 15 were gone. But because of them, the enemy's attack was delayed long enough for the American bombers to find their mark. Surviving Pilot Hawkins, voice trembling, soft. They said the Buffalo was a death trap. Maybe they were right. But for a few hours, we stood between freedom and the dark. And I'd do it again. Sound. Faint crackle of a campfire, gentle ocean breeze. Narrator. The Brewster Buffalo would never fly in combat again. It was withdrawn from service, replaced by faster, stronger fighters. But the memory of those who flew it, the ones who took off knowing they might never return, became a quiet legend among the men who followed. Sound. Temple bells, soft wind. Former Japanese pilot, years later, older voice. They fought bravely, even in weak machines. I saw one burning, still coming straight at us. That was true courage. Sound. Faint radio static fading into silence. Narrator, quiet, reflective. History remembers the great victories, the heroes, the machines, the medals. But courage is not born from perfection. It comes from standing your ground when the world laughs at you, and fighting anyway, because in the end, it wasn't the Brewster that won the Battle of Midway. It was a man who refused to give up, even in the worst fighter America ever built. Sound. Soft piano swells, final note echoing. Narrator, final words. The Brewster Buffalo, America's worst fighter, helped win one of its greatest battles. Because in war, it's not the machine that matters. It's the man inside it